Have you ever wondered why some people naturally attract respect, build meaningful relationships, and create opportunities wherever they go, while others, despite being intelligent, hardworking, and talented, often struggle to connect with people? According to Dale Carnegie, the answer is surprisingly simple. Success is not determined by knowledge alone. It is also determined by how we understand, communicate with, and treat other people. In How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie explains that technical skills may help someone get a job, but people skills often determine how far that person goes in life, whether in business, leadership, friendships, or everyday conversations. Our ability to build genuine relationships has a powerful influence on our future. The author begins with an important observation. Every person wants to feel respected. Every person wants to feel appreciated. Every person wants to believe that they matter. When these simple emotional needs are ignored, relationships become distant. But when they are understood, trust begins to grow naturally. One of the central ideas introduced in the book is that influence does not begin by trying to change other people. It begins by changing the way we approach them. Many conversations fail because people spend more time talking about themselves than understanding the person standing in front of them. Instead of asking, "How can I convince this person?" ask yourself, "How can I understand this person?" This simple change in perspective can completely transform the way we build relationships. Another important lesson introduced in the book is that criticism rarely creates lasting change. When people feel attacked, they naturally become defensive. Instead of listening, they begin protecting their pride. That is why Dale Carnegie believes that understanding, patience, and sincere appreciation are far more effective than criticism. Throughout history, the greatest leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and respected individuals have shared one common quality. They knew how to make other people feel important. They listened carefully. They spoke with respect. And they showed genuine interest in the people around them. The author reminds us that people may forget our words. They may even forget our actions. But they rarely forget how we made them feel. Perhaps that is why meaningful relationships have always been one of the greatest forms of success. Money can create opportunities. Knowledge can create expertise. But strong relationships often open doors that talent alone cannot. And according to Dale Carnegie, learning how to connect with people is one of the most valuable skills anyone can ever develop. Have you ever noticed that people enjoy talking about themselves? According to Dale Carnegie, this is one of the most important truths about human nature. Every person wants to feel seen. Every person wants to feel heard. And every person wants to know that their thoughts and experiences matter. The author explains that if we truly want to build stronger relationships, we must first learn to show genuine interest in other people. Not because we expect something in return, but because we sincerely care about them. Many people enter conversations with one goal: to impress others. They think about what they are going to say next. They wait for their turn to speak. And they often miss the opportunity to truly understand the person in front of them. Dale Carnegie encourages readers to do the opposite. Instead of trying to become the most interesting person in the room, become the most interested person in the room. Ask thoughtful questions. Listen carefully. Encourage others to share their stories. People naturally enjoy conversations where they feel comfortable expressing themselves. Another important lesson is remembering small details about people. Remembering someone's name, asking about their family, or following up on something they mentioned weeks earlier may seem like a small gesture, but according to the author, these simple actions leave a lasting impression. They show that you value the person rather than simply the conversation. The book also explains that genuine interest cannot be faked. People quickly recognize when someone is pretending to care. Real curiosity comes from wanting to understand another person's experiences, ideas, and perspective. When that curiosity is sincere, trust begins to develop naturally. Dale Carnegie reminds readers that friendship is not created by talking about ourselves. It is created by making others feel important. When people feel respected, they become more open, more comfortable, and more willing to build meaningful relationships. Another lesson discussed in this chapter is that everyone has something we can learn from. Regardless of age, profession, or background, Every person has unique experiences and valuable knowledge. Approaching conversations with humility instead of judgment allows us to grow while building stronger connections. Perhaps the greatest message from this chapter is simple. People may not always remember what we said, but they will remember how interested we were in them, because genuine interest is one of the rarest forms of kindness. And according to Dale Carnegie, it is one of the easiest ways to earn trust, build lasting friendships, and positively influence the people around us. Have you ever noticed that the best conversationalists are not always the people who speak the most, but the people who know how to listen? According to Dale Carnegie, listening is one of the most underrated communication skills. Most people don't truly listen. They simply wait for their turn to speak. While someone else is talking, their mind is already preparing the next response. As a result, real communication rarely takes place. The author explains that becoming a better listener begins with giving people your full attention. Put away distractions. Maintain eye contact. Allow the other person to finish speaking without interrupting. These simple actions communicate respect without saying a single word. Another important lesson is that asking sincere questions keeps conversations alive. Instead of constantly sharing your own experiences, invite the other person to share theirs. Ask about their goals, their interests, their opinions, and their experiences. People naturally enjoy talking to someone who genuinely wants to understand them. Dale Carnegie also reminds readers that listening is not a passive activity. It requires curiosity, patience, and the willingness to understand another person's point of view, even when you disagree. When people feel heard, they become more open, more relaxed, and more willing to trust. The author explains that many misunderstandings happen because people respond before fully understanding what was actually said. Taking a few extra moments to listen carefully often prevents unnecessary conflict. It also leads to better decisions and stronger relationships. Another powerful idea discussed in this chapter is the importance of making the other person feel important, not through flattery, but through sincere appreciation. Everyone wants to know that their thoughts matter. When we acknowledge someone's ideas with genuine respect, we strengthen the connection between us. Dale Carnegie believes that appreciation is one of the simplest ways to improve both personal and professional relationships. A sincere compliment, a thoughtful thank you, or recognizing someone's effort can leave a lasting impression. These small acts of kindness often create stronger relationships than long conversations ever could. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this chapter is this. People rarely remember every word we say, but they always remember how we made them feel. When we listen with patience, speak with kindness, and appreciate others sincerely, we become someone people naturally enjoy being around. And according to Dale Carnegie, that ability is one of the greatest secrets to building trust, lasting friendships, and meaningful influence. Have you ever been in an argument where both people wanted to win, but no one actually solved the problem? According to Dale Carnegie, arguments rarely change people's minds. In most cases, they only strengthen people's desire to defend their own opinions. The author explains that when someone feels embarrassed, criticized, or attacked, their first reaction is not to listen. It is to protect their pride. That is why trying to prove someone wrong often pushes them even further away from your point of view. Instead of creating agreement, arguments usually create resistance. Dale Carnegie encourages readers to approach disagreements with humility rather than certainty. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," try saying, "I may be mistaken. Let's look at this together." This simple change in language immediately reduces tension and makes conversations more productive. Another important lesson is that respect is far more persuasive than force. People are much more willing to consider new ideas when they feel respected. No one enjoys being made to feel foolish. When we protect another person's dignity, they become more open to listening. The author also reminds readers that every person sees the world through their own experiences. Two people can witness the same event and still reach completely different conclusions. Rather than assuming our perspective is always correct, we should first try to understand why the other person thinks the way they do. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything. It means showing enough respect to understand before responding. Another valuable lesson discussed in this chapter is the importance of admitting our own mistakes. Many people believe admitting a mistake makes them look weak. According to Dale Carnegie, the opposite is often true. People usually respect honesty far more than stubbornness. When we admit our mistakes quickly and sincerely, we reduce conflict, build trust, and demonstrate confidence rather than insecurity. The author explains that winning an argument is not the same as winning a relationship. You may prove your point, but if the other person leaves feeling embarrassed or resentful, nothing meaningful has been gained. Strong relationships are built on understanding, not on proving who is right. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this chapter is simple. Treat every disagreement as an opportunity to learn, rather than an opportunity to win. Because influence grows through respect, trust grows through understanding, and lasting relationships are built by people who know that kindness is often far more powerful than being right. Have you ever tried to change someone's opinion, only to realize they became even more resistant? According to Dale Carnegie, people rarely enjoy being told what to do. They prefer to believe that their decisions are their own. For this reason, the author explains that influence is far more effective than pressure. One of the most powerful ways to influence others is to begin with appreciation instead of criticism. When people feel respected, they become more open to new ideas. A simple compliment, a sincere acknowledgement, or genuine appreciation can completely change the direction of a conversation. Another important lesson is to avoid giving direct orders whenever possible. Instead of saying, "Do this," try asking, "What do you think would be the best way to handle this?" This small change encourages cooperation instead of resistance. People naturally feel more committed to an idea when they believe they helped create it. The author also explains that if you want someone to change, begin by talking about your own mistakes first. When we admit our imperfections, others feel less judged. This creates an atmosphere where honest conversations become possible. Dale Carnegie reminds readers that humility often builds more influence than authority. Another valuable principle is allowing people to protect their dignity. No one enjoys being embarrassed in front of others. Correcting someone publicly or pointing out every mistake can damage both confidence and trust. Instead, offer guidance privately, with kindness and respect. The author believes that encouragement is one of the greatest motivators. When people are recognized for their strengths, they become more confident, and confident people are more willing to improve. Criticism often makes people defensive. Encouragement inspires them to grow. Another lesson discussed in this chapter is the importance of making people feel that improvement is achievable. If someone believes a task is impossible, they are less likely to try. But when they believe success is within reach, their motivation increases naturally. Hope is often more powerful than pressure. Perhaps the greatest message from this chapter is this: real influence is never forced. It is earned through respect, patience, understanding, and sincere appreciation. When people feel valued, they become more willing to listen, more willing to cooperate, and more willing to trust. According to Dale Carnegie, the strongest leaders are not those who command people. They are the ones who inspire people to become better versions of themselves. Have you ever wondered why some people naturally inspire others, while others struggle to earn even basic trust? According to Dale Carnegie, the answer is not authority. It is communication. The author explains that the way we speak to people often determines the quality of the relationships we build. Words have the power to encourage or discourage, to strengthen trust or quietly destroy it. One of the most important lessons in the book is that positive communication begins with respect. People are far more likely to accept advice when they feel appreciated first. A few sincere words of encouragement can often achieve more than long speeches filled with criticism. Another valuable principle is to focus on people's strengths rather than their weaknesses. Every individual has talents. Every individual has potential. When we recognize those strengths, we inspire confidence. And confidence encourages growth. The author also explains that appreciation should always be genuine. People quickly recognize empty compliments. True appreciation comes from honestly noticing another person's effort, their kindness, or their achievements. When appreciation is sincere, it creates trust. Another lesson discussed in this chapter is the importance of choosing words carefully. Sometimes, changing only a few words can completely change the outcome of a conversation. Instead of making demands, make suggestions. Instead of blaming, offer support. Instead of saying, "You failed," try saying, "Let's see how we can improve this together." This approach protects the other person's confidence while still encouraging improvement. Dale Carnegie also reminds readers that a smile is one of the simplest forms of positive communication. It costs nothing, yet it immediately makes conversations feel warmer and more welcoming. People naturally respond to kindness, not because they are forced to, but because kindness creates comfort. Another important idea is that enthusiasm is contagious. When we speak with genuine interest, others become interested too. Positive energy often spreads through conversations without people even realizing it. The author believes that great communicators do not simply exchange information. They create positive experiences. People remember how a conversation made them feel far longer than they remember the exact words that were spoken. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this chapter is that communication is not about proving our intelligence. It is about making other people feel respected, understood, and appreciated. Because when people feel valued, they naturally become more open, more cooperative, and more willing to build lasting relationships. According to Dale Carnegie, positive communication is not just a social skill. It is one of the most valuable life skills anyone can ever develop. Have you ever wondered why some people lose friendships, opportunities, and respect without even realizing what they did wrong? According to Dale Carnegie, the biggest mistakes in communication are often the simplest ones. Many people believe that strong relationships are built through impressive speeches or extraordinary actions. But the author explains that relationships are more often damaged by small, repeated habits. One of the most common mistakes is criticizing people too quickly. When someone makes a mistake, our first instinct is often to point it out immediately. However, criticism usually creates defensiveness, not improvement. People naturally protect their pride, and when they feel attacked, they stop listening. Another mistake is trying to prove that we are always right. Winning an argument may satisfy the ego, but it rarely strengthens a relationship. The author reminds readers that being right is far less important than preserving trust and mutual respect. Sometimes, the strongest response is choosing understanding over victory. Another habit that quietly pushes people away is talking too much about ourselves. Many conversations become one-sided because people focus only on sharing their own experiences. They rarely stop to ask questions or listen with genuine curiosity. Dale Carnegie believes that people enjoy being around those who make them feel important. Listening is often far more powerful than speaking. The book also warns against forgetting the power of appreciation. Many people notice mistakes immediately, but rarely acknowledge effort. A sincere, "Thank you," a kind compliment, or recognizing someone's hard work can strengthen relationships in ways we often underestimate. Another common mistake is making people feel unimportant. Ignoring someone's opinion, interrupting them, or dismissing their ideas can slowly damage trust. Every person wants to feel respected. Every person wants to know that their voice matters. When we offer that respect, relationships naturally become stronger. The author also explains that impatience often creates unnecessary conflict. People expect instant agreement, instant change, and instant results. But trust takes time. Friendships take time. Influence takes time. The strongest relationships are built through consistent kindness, not quick victories. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this chapter is that successful relationships are rarely created by avoiding mistakes completely. They are created by recognizing those mistakes, learning from them, and choosing better habits every single day. According to Dale Carnegie, small acts of respect, small moments of kindness, and small gestures of appreciation often have a greater impact than grand words ever could. Because in the end, people may not remember every conversation, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Have you ever wondered what truly makes a person influential? Is it intelligence? Money? Power? Or something much deeper? After exploring the lessons in how to win friends and influence people, one message becomes impossible to ignore. Success is rarely built alone. No matter how talented we are, our ability to understand, respect, and connect with other people often determines how far we go in life. Throughout this book, Dale Carnegie reminds us that every person carries an invisible desire, the desire to feel important, to feel appreciated, to feel understood. When we recognize that simple truth, our conversations begin to change, our relationships become stronger, and trust grows naturally. We learn that genuine interest is more powerful than trying to impress others. Listening creates stronger connections than speaking endlessly. Respect opens more doors than criticism. And appreciation inspires people far more effectively than judgment. The book also teaches us that influence cannot be forced, it cannot be demanded, and it cannot be achieved through fear. Real influence is earned. It grows through honesty, kindness, patience, and consistent respect for others. Another important lesson is that every conversation leaves an impression. The words we choose, the way we listen, the respect we show, and even the smallest acts of kindness all become part of the way people remember us. Dale Carnegie reminds us that changing other people begins by changing ourselves. When we become better listeners, better communicators, and more understanding human beings, the people around us naturally respond differently. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this book is surprisingly simple. People may forget your achievements, they may forget your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that feeling often becomes the foundation of lasting friendships, strong leadership, successful careers, and meaningful relationships. In the end, How to Win Friends and Influence People is not simply a book about communication. It is a guide to becoming someone others genuinely enjoy trusting, respecting, and remembering. If there is one idea worth carrying with you after finishing this book, let it be this: treat every person with sincere respect. Listen before you speak. Appreciate more than you criticize. And always remember, the strongest relationships are built one conversation at a time. Because true influence doesn't begin with changing the world. It begins with changing the way we treat the people around us.